Here out of Taupo. 2006 or something in the V8 Utes when the Aussies came across, 2006, 2007.
Things like that, even a bit of time in the HQs.
Slayman's, of course, brains trust behind quite a few of the UDC V8 Utes as well.
Yeah, many vehicles out on circuits in New Zealand, so a little bit of action from, I think it was Jessica out the back there going loose on the turn. Hasn't quite come to grips with the Ute yet.
Still Hayden Johnson. Daniel Connor's not letting him get away. 31.0 for Daniel Connor is the fastest lap of the race, 1:31.0.
Matt Wallace is now doing his drive-through penalty, and you know, they let a few people get away with a few things in round one. They did. A bit of a learning curve for everyone involved, but they've been a bit tough this time. A bit tough.
Matt Wallace with the drive-through. Dale ITM colours. Another Carter.
It's one way to get your sponsor on the screen, isn't it?
Now, wasn't there a story about how he got that drive? It was a competition through the Rock radio station?
Yeah, he did a competition, in a karting competition, and he was leading. Unfortunately, the seatbelt wasn't working on the cart. He couldn't get it engaged. It took him 4 seconds. I think it was 4 seconds to engage the seatbelt, and he lost by 3 seconds.
Oh.
Something like that, yeah.
All right, back on board.
Car malfunctions.
Christina Orr, 4th position.
Doing everything she can for a birthday present. Give herself a birthday present and get on that podium for a second time, which should put her, well, even 4th position could keep her in the running for the overall points.
Well, she's been 3/10 quicker than Marty Irvine up ahead, but the last lap she was a 10th slower, so it's just sort of bouncing backwards and forwards.
And there's more than just pride here. I mean, this series offers prize money. You know, the winner of the round gets $1,000, and then I think second gets $750 or something.
It's my birthday, let me pass.
Yes.
On the headlights.
Yeah, the truckie boys and the sign riders had a little bit of fun with their Ute overnight.
Do they know that in the rear vision mirrors, that's not going to make any sense?
Yeah, exactly right.
On board with Matt Lockwood in the 13th position. Draft from Alexandra Whitley.
A great draft too.
She's to the outside though, down into turn 1. Damage to the right front corner on the Waikato Sangyong Ute. Couldn't get the pass to stick.
Certainly let Maddie know that she was there though. That was a good thing.
So that's 13th and 14th. Blake Harris just in behind in the 10. Sean Morris in the 111.
See, that's some smart driving from Alexandra, because even if she didn't make the pass stick, she let Matt know that she can do it.
Yeah, it's all about momentum.
Yeah, and he will be wary of that now and watching his mirrors, and she's still doing it. So it's clever driving from her.
Very good young Carter out of Australia. She had a bit of trouble first round in Taupo with a rather large moment through turn 9, one of the fastest corners in New Zealand motorsport.
Yes, and waving her hands through the screen to tell all the others, I've spun, don't hit me please. Not that it was going to change. Here she goes, she's going, no, not quite enough on the inside.
Went in a little bit too deep and couldn't get the drive off, and look at the momentum she's just lost there.
Yeah, but at least she made Matthew work for that corner, and if she can get it back, try and force some into a mistake. That's all she can do at the moment.
Couple of laps left to go here. Daniel Connor within 0.4 of a second of the race leader. Was 3/10 quicker than Hayden Johnson on the previous lap. They both got away from Marty Irvine, sorry. It's Rowan Shepherd just closing in on the back bumper of Christina Orr.
Yeah, this front 5 though have really started to sing their own song, and they've pulled away from everyone else, which we did not expect. There might have been a closer fight up front, but they're doing so well. They've just tuned themselves now.
Big moment
as
there
I
with
say
Chelsea
that.
Herman. She's got the big tank slapper going, and on the grass.
Well done, young Chelsea. Good girl.
That is very, very wet out there. There is a lot of moisture in the grassed areas here at Hampton Downs. She did well to not nose into the Armco there. Chelsea had been running in the 9th position in a battle group there with Thomas Joyce and Trey Nairn, a trio of Carters.
Yeah, don't know if it was... Oh, yes, it was. Was that Fane? No, sorry.
The 9 of Trey Nairn, and yeah, that's the exit stage.
I'd say Trey might be paying a little visit to the judiciary. Just going off that. Just my little humble opinion.
Just your humble opinion.
Yes, I think you might get a little tap on the shoulder. Come for a walk, son.
Hayden Johnson's last lap was a 31.4. Daniel Connor actually dropped off half a second, 31.9. So I thought Connor was just starting to close that gap, but it's gone back out to nearly 1 second on board with Christina.
She needs a mistake from Marty Irvine, because she's not going to catch him by just simple driving.
Well, Rowan Shepherd has caught Christina, however, and was 3/10 quicker on the previous lap.
Yeah, that's going to change the pressure around, isn't it? She's got to concentrate on defending now.
5 races, looking for 5 different winners. Last lap brought out for Hayden Johnston, Daniel Connor, Marty Irvine.
And after his race 1 disappointment with Hayden being on pole and the electrical issue and having to pull out of the race before he even started, this is good karma.
It's not over yet though. Look at Daniel Connor. Right. He's made up a huge amount of ground. He was 3/10 quicker on the previous lap. The gap came back from a second to half a second. But he's going to have to set it up.
Yeah, well, maybe Hayden's overworked himself here.
I was about to say before Chelsea went off, what's the most important factor that after 4 races, this is race 5, is it tyres and tyre pressures?
You'd have to think so. You really would.
It looks to have been that.
Yeah.
Is certainly the issue, is getting on top of how to manage the tyre pressures.
And could Hayden have pushed too fast, too hard?
Especially in hot conditions. A little bit cooler out there for this one. Daniel Connor's right there with him.
In saying that though, often the car that is chasing is working his tyres even harder, and usually they drop off. So yeah, it'll be good focus on the last few turns.
Exactly. Marty Irvine's got a little bit of breathing space now, but Christina Orr's going to have to be careful. She might have to just protect the line down through the last corner with Rowan Shepherd, who's the drafting king out of Formula First.
Hayden's going wide. No, he's okay. He's got that.
Should be all right. I don't think Daniel's going to be close enough to get sucked into the draft. It's not going to stop him trying, though. He's right in behind. Oh, there's a car length. There's a car length.
Yeah, plenty of time.
Hayden Johnston in the sleepyhead number 4 becomes race winner number 5 in 5 race starts for the Sanyong Racing Series. Daniel Connor second. Solid weekend. I think a win, a second and a 4th for Daniel Connor. That should, I would expect, have him at the top of the points chase for the round, certainly. Marty Irvine in 3rd. Christina Orr holds on to 4th ahead of Rowan Shepherd and Coke Stoneman, but 5 races, 5 different race winners. That's impressive.
That's a race series.
Pedersen down there on pit lane. Cooler conditions, but the track temp's actually up from race number 2.
It certainly is. It's a little bit longer in the day now, so the sun's had a bit of a chance to seep into the track, albeit it's only a couple of degrees hotter, so it won't cause any dramas.
Mark, outlook for we've had a fair bit of cloud cover. Any possibility for some rain?
Yeah, looking over one side here, and it's actually quite dark, the clouds to the west. But look, I don't think it's going to anything come of it. It had a little bit of a spit before, but that's around about it. I'm pretty certain it's going to go dry. And you look at all the teams, guys, there's been no provisions at all for wet tyres. Just got all the spare slick tyres ready to go. So, and the other thing about it is that it's so hot here, and there's so much track temperature that even if it does rain, it's going to evaporate pretty quick. So it'd have to be a pretty big shower for them even to contemplate coming in for wets.
All right, let's revert back to the start of race number 2, Mark, and there's been a clarification between races on the when you can take your refuelling.
Yeah, look, they made it very clear now that the any car actually has to go past the start-finish line before they come in. So essentially every car's got to take the green flag, and then they can come in after the first lap, second lap, or whatever they have to do. So we won't see any of those pretty smart tactics from the Heimgartner car, etc., like we saw in race 2.
Because, boys, potentially we could have had the whole field doing the same thing at the start of this race.
And that's what they're looking at doing. They said, look, we need to avoid that happening, because that was going to happen. So, look, it's a smart move on SuperTourers' position just to get rid of any element of doubt, get everybody out of the grey area and back into the black and white.
We're ready to go racing here at Hampton Downs. Race 3, the TR Group weekend, Waikato 400. It's been a huge weekend and part of the big V8 festival. Some great support classes. This is what a lot of them have come to see. The NZ SuperTourers on board. Mark Gibson, Murph off the front row. Moore from 2, and all M3 Racing front row on board with Simon Evans tucked in behind Moore. Position 4, car 4. Paul Morris starting the Hydrolink. Number 22, Holden. 60 laps again, pit window, 26 to 32 for the compulsory driver change. And I think we'll see a couple certainly pitting early, but they will have to do one complete lap. Lights are out and we are underway as they charge down into turn number 1.
Evans with a good start in the spec number 4.
Moore alongside his teammate. Murph's got the inside run to 2 though.
It'll be a long way around there if he hangs in there. Oh, he's done a good job.
Great start from Ed Pedersen just in behind this trio as well. Grid position 6. In fact, where is Ed Pedersen? There's a couple of stragglers at the back. Ed initially got a good start, but he's disappeared. No, he is back there, but he's lost a couple of spots in behind the Cunningham Waters machine. So there must have been a shuffle between 2 and 3. Certainly looked like he was up in P5, and that's where Angus Fogg is. Murph leads from Moore, Evans, Morris.
And Paul Manuel's got a shocker too in the Oryx number 15 further back in the grid.
Yeah, well, he was out of P7. Big slide from Murph. That is huge. Big moment for Greg Murphy out of the final corner to complete lap 1 now. Does anybody pit? It's going to be Ed Pedersen in first.
Well, after a shock of a start, you've probably got no option.
They had a brake failure from the pit stop with 12 laps to go as Angus Fogg runs wide. So Angus Fogg in the car. There's the fuel stop for Ed Pedersen.
Very, very slow in getting that into the Falcon, as we mentioned earlier on.
There's quite a bit of weight there with the 25 litres of fuel, and it's just awkward with the high hit line on these race cars.
Actually, guys, you said it looked pretty slow, but it's the fastest real fuel stop that I've timed so far, just under 10 seconds. But look, it's a smart move from these guys, because they did get shuffled back a bit, so they're out of strategy, have clean air, and we know that those guys have got a fair bit of pace behind them.
Back up front, Murphy, Moore, Evans, Morris, Mark Gibson. And this is the view out the back of the Mike Pero number 1.
As the sun comes back out from behind the clouds again, this time it was Moore running a little bit wide out of that last corner. First flyer, pretty much a full tank of fuel. We certainly have probably 90 to 100 litres on board. Murphy, he's struggling to get it turned in down into 1. Bit of a handful in these early laps.
He's trying hard. He's trying to put it in some air, and in comes the number 8 with Steve Owen at the wheel.
Completion of lap number 2 for the Chesters number 8.
It's a very good shot of how different the fueling rig is and where it sits on the back of the car.
Well, a little half stall, didn't quite stall it fully, but that's cost him a couple of seconds trying to get out of the pits.
Right, guys, 5 seconds slower than the Ant Pedersen stop.
Well, that's a big difference. Even over 60 laps as Mark Gibson here trying to get by Paul Morris. It was a little bit awkward. Morris was well over the curbs off the exit of the hairpin.
Management, drive-through penalty.
Hearing a drive-through penalty.
96, car 96, pit lane infringement. Drive-through penalty.
Oh, Ant Pedersen.
Car 96.
Mark, we're hearing Ant Pedersen's got a drive-through penalty for a pit lane infringement. Maybe you can update us on that as Mark Gibson looking very good here, trying to get down the inside of Paul Morris for position 4. Mark will be straight onto that. Pretty solid weekend for that car as Angus Fogg D'Alberto pits. Fuel stop for them. Completion of lap 3.
That was a very slick transition of Matt on the edge, Jack.
And he stalled it. Again, cost him a couple of crucial seconds with the stall. So Mark will be down at International Motorsport. We'll update you as soon as we get confirmation on that. But a drive-through penalty assessed for the J.A. Russell Ford. Top 3 now with some separation back to the 4th place. Mark Gibson, Paul Morris. It's Cam Waters in the Cunningham Construction Ford, 6th place ahead of Andrew Waite, Paul Manuel, Chris Hanley, and the first 3 cars that have pitted for their fuel stops, Fogg, Pedersen and Owen.
This is Waters on Morris. There'll be a bit of a dive to here, but thinks better of it. Not very, very close.
Been racing against each other in the development series and during the Pertec Enduro Cup for Ford Performance Racing in Geraldwin.
Morris just goes a little bit wide there into goal corner. Drive-through penalty. I think that's for Ant Pedersen.
Yeah, guys, that is... oh, sorry, guys, sorry. Yeah, look, the reason for it was, and we thought they cleaned up all the confusion about the pit stops, but the rule actually states you only got to take the start. You actually have to do a whole complete lap. So they took the start of the race. Of course, they come in the very first racing lap and they've just deemed that's actually incorrect. So, gosh, no, I don't know what to think about this.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Mark, it's actually a little bit sad what's going on here.
It was said they did have to complete that first lap, though, didn't they? That was certainly my understanding. So they completed the first lap, but it was in pit lane when it crossed the control line. So Murphy is your race leader. Last lap was a 105.8. Moore 105.8. Evans 105.9. Gibson a 106.1, just a shade slower. So it's a costly drive-through penalty for the Pedersen Reed team. Coming off the back of a fairly significant off at the end of race number 2. Brake sensor failure, lost brake pressure, was trying to fight off Angus Fogg right at the end of the race and fired it off the end of the front straight, and quite a bit of damage to the front end of that race car.
Tell you what, Tim's, Richard Moore had a very good look up the inside of Greg Murphy into turn 4.
It's actually dropped him back into the clutches of Simon Evans, killed a little bit of momentum, Drakey.
He's obviously got the pace to hang with Greg, as he showed. He had the pace to fend off Perkins in race number 2. And now he's got Evans starting to breathe over the back of number 10.
On board with Evans and the Smeg Holden. Mark, one of the other equations we haven't probably really covered is tyre management. Each of the teams limited to 8 new Hankook tyres for the weekend. Did you get a glimpse of any of the teams maybe sitting on some new tyres?
Yeah, look, the only one that I saw that had anything new was the Smeg team of Simon Evans and co. They had 2 new left-hand tyres on that. So, look, as we saw, a different strategy in qualifying, which you know, works well because it's the left-hand side that's doing all the hard work. So, look, but the one bad thing about it is when you put new tyres on, as we know, you don't get a chance to bleed that tyre down, and the pressure keeps building up and up and up. So, probably going to work, but then again, it could actually work against them too.
Greg Murphy, your race leader, chased by Richard Moore. Simon Evans, last laps are a 6-0 for Murph, a 6-0 for Moore, a 5-8 for Evans. Evans with the fastest lap of the race so far at a 105.636.
Keep an eye up as they head into turn 1 TR group corner. Richard Moore's car is very strong going into this part of the track. Murph seems to struggle here into this turn, and there goes Richard.
Yeah, little chirp there just from the left front of Murphy. Is struggling there, and Moore does look very settled through there.
Greg's car is very good round the final turn. Turn 6 at Hankook sweeper, but...
Well, as you say that about Moore's car, Drake, he's just done a 105.53, fastest lap of the race.
He's close. I would think he's going to have a go here.
So Ann Pedersen, the 4th car in shot. It's now a lap down, a drive-through penalty. Not physically completing the first lap out on the racetrack before their fuel stop. So 4th on track is the Gibson McIntyre machine.
It's unfortunate for Pedersen. Confusion again over these rules. He's back up front, Richard Moore. Still not close enough to have a lunge into TR Group turn 1.
Fastest lap again to Moore, 105.48.
Murphy's gone in hard, he's gone in hard, here we go.
He was struggling through one the previous lap.
He just missed his brake marker that time. He was way too deep.
Moore's definitely better on this half of the track. Murph's a little bit better out of the high speed stuff over the back coming up the hill.
Here's a go. Watch this.
105.428 for Moore, 105.430 for Simon Evans right in behind him. The top 3, well, you can pretty much throw a blanket over them.
Tell you what, Moore's going to have to get on with this because Evans is going to park that number 4 in there and take a spot if he's not careful.
I won't say close the door because that opened the door after race number 2. A 20-cent part, a little plastic clip to retain the door, shattered. That's what we saw, what happened to Shane Van Gisbergen. On board with Evans. Looking very settled back there in 3rd, the championship leader. On lap 9 of 60. Still a long way to go here. Just the 3 cars have chosen to pit early for fuel. Pedersen, Edgell, Fogg. 105.4 for Perkins, 105.4 for Moore, 105.4 for Evans. A little sideways moment there out of 2 for Moore. Murphy was a little bit wide on the exit, that transition from 2 to 3 as well.
He's not comfortable through there, but he's doing enough. And you've got to be careful following this close on these guys, making sure, unless you trust them.
It's Mike Pero in the pits, sponsor of the 10 and the 1 car. Look how far the top 3 have got away from the 4th place Mark Gibson. That gap's out to 6.5 seconds in just 9 laps. So Gibson's got Cam Waters in behind him, Paul Morris, so Waters has got ahead of Morris. Andrew Wade up into 7th.
It's a great job by the number 14, Falcon.
I think they've got on top of the brake issue that they had. They also had a drive line issue with a drive shaft.
They replaced almost everything in that car, apparently, that to do with brakes and electronics.
I think with one of the master cylinders, there's a rubber boot on the end of them, and the end of the boot was actually closing off one of the lines. This is on board Cam Waters, stalking Mark Gibson for 4th. Impressive young Australian. Races dirt late models, and Aussie now too.
Here he is, sneaks it up the inside.
Yeah, got that done. Did it cleanly, a little bit of exit oversteer. Let's see if he can chase down the leading trio, because that gap's gone out to over 7 seconds now. Simon Evans' turn to lose a little bit of time. A 5.4 for Murphy, a 5.4 for Moore, a 5.6 for Evans. This next group of cars are in the 6s and high 5.9s. Steve Owen fastest on track at a 105.287. And that's just been eclipsed by Murphy at a 105.253. Closely followed by Simon Evans at a 105.271.
John McIntyre, Blackwood's protected garage, as he's young 22-year-old driver battles.
Richard Moore just dropped the right rear off and then ahead of him. Murph locked up a brake. So Moore ran wide, then Murph locked up.
I think this pace is showing, Jamie. There's Merv's trying hard. Maybe Simon Evans just sitting back there in the Smeag number 4, just taking it all in.
It's the fastest lap of the race. Greg Murphy at a 105.253. Fastest lap of the weekend's been a 4.7 from this car with Shane Van Gisbergen at the wheel. Steve Owen's got some pace back in 10th. First of the 3 cars that took that fuel stop early. Completion of lap 2 for them. 105.3s from each of the top 3. On board with Evans again. Saw a mistake from Murph and more on the previous lap from the onboard.
He'll be quietly taking all this information in and seeing where Murphy is slow, where Moore's good and slow, so he can make himself a chance to sneak that number 4 ahead.
Halfway to the pit window opening, the compulsory driver change. The grid for this one lined up off the results from the first 2 races and qualifying points. Also count for the championship. No fastest lap bonus points for the enduro rounds. That will come back into play for the sprint rounds in the new year. As the SuperTourers head back down south to Ruapuna and Timaru.
I think that Richard Moore's team might, there's Shane Van Gisbergen, Richard Moore's team might just think about coming in and taking that fuel on board, because Murphy has to be holding them up through this section of the track.
Well, 105.3s from Murph and Moore, a 105.189, new fastest lap of the race from Simon Evans in 3rd.
But he can't do anything with it, Jamie. You can hang back and you can get a fast lap, but unless you're going forward, there's not much help with the fastest lap.
Oh, a little half look down the inside there from Evans on the run to 4.
I reckon Simon needs to either have a go or he needs to head to the pit. These guys are holding him up, and Richard's playing rear gunner for Murphy as well. He's not going to get any favours out of him.
There wasn't contact there, it was close. Shane, get on the brake. Sorry, Mark.
No, that's all right. Shane, the Evans team must have heard exactly what you're saying about coming out of the train, because the personnel have just moved into pit lane. They've got the fuel ring in one hand. The guy with the airlines is ready to go.
Yeah,
so,
there he comes, mate.
Yeah.
He's in.
Good call. So Simon Evans in to take the fuel stop at the lap 14.
Geez, that's a handful to get in there, isn't it? Lock to lock.
Didn't quite go to plan last time in the pits for this team. Fuel going in, Mark's down there with the timer. Little delay getting the car away, Mark.
Yeah, it was 12.3 seconds. You're right. There was just that slow transition, but all in all, a very safe stop.
It was a couple of seconds slower than Ann Pedersen, but he's out of the equation effectively with that drive-through penalty. So smart move there.
Well, I think it's a good idea, because certainly Murph is holding up Moore, and because of that, Moore was holding up even. So Simon can get a good few laps, and let's look closely at our timing monitor and inform you what's going to happen. But also see whether or not Murphy picks up the pace a bit.
Well, Andre Heimgartner was able to do that in race 2. He had clear air, and they made some huge gains by taking themselves out of the traffic equation. So Greg Murphy, 105.4. Moore, 105.243's just done his fastest lap of the race. Puts the Waters Cunningham 32 up into 3rd. Gibson 4th. Paul Morrison 5th. Andrew Waite up to 6th. And the Simply Leasing number 14 on board with Murph. For a much better result this weekend than he had at Taupo, and certainly at Bathurst and the Gold Coast. So we've got the Ferndale Farms Ford heading down pit lane. This will be for the fuel stop.
Chris Hanley at the wheel. That fuel container went in quite easy.
Lap 15. 25 litres of Gull, Force 10 going on board. Again, a little delay just getting into gear, and then it's stalled.
Tell you what, that actually looked a really good stop. Here comes Richard Moore.
There's Moore. Mike Perot 10 in the pits. Conclusion of lap 16. Only 10 laps away from the pit window opening for the compulsory driver change. They were pretty good with their pit stops in race 2. Race 2 winners, Tim Slade and Richard Moore. Oh, nearly a stall there.
Well
nearly.
Done. So Murphy's going to realise that he's a bit of a sitting duck here now, with both those two being released and getting into fresh air.
Last lap was a 105.4, so it puts the Waters Cunningham Construction Ford up into the 2nd place now. There's Evans. He actually lost a little bit of time in the fuel stops because he was right in behind Moore. It just cost him a little bit of track position. So I think Richard Moore's stop wasn't too bad there.
No, actually the Sound FM car, that was actually 9 seconds until Chris stalled the car on the way out, and the Moore car, it was 10.1, so look, some pretty blistering times. But look, it's interesting, the strategies, guys, that some of these guys, they're waiting for the cars to go completely up, then putting the fuel in, and other guys that are connecting the lance and putting the fuel in at the same time. So I think that's where we've seen the difference in timing.
Yeah, it was 2 seconds between the 4 and the 10 car, and that's basically translated that gap out on the racetrack. So Simon Evans, last lap was a 5.2. To tell you what, wasn't too bad considering fastest lap of the race was a 5.18 set by that car. Steve Owen's still got some good pace just in behind them. Northern Evans down into turn 1.
He's just done a 5.1, Jamie, so he's on it.
He's just done the fastest lap of the race again, a 5.15, 105.15. Look at this battle group, big lineup of cars. These cars have not pitted. Well, actually the 27 car has. 2nd place, Cameron Waters. Yeah, certainly a gain there for Richard Moore in that fuel stop. And it was sort of between 1.5 seconds and 2 seconds. Greg Murphy in. Murphy on the pit lane for their fuel stop. Car 1, completion of lap 18.
See, now that was quite a delay in getting the churn in compared to when the car went up. These guys are trying to...
One of the best getaways, and they have to go behind the control tower here at Hampton Downs.
Oh, M3 are happy because they're all clapping inside the pit garage.
Every right, guys, 10.5 seconds, so it's a pretty fast time.
You would expect this is going to be close.
Oh, Moore's actually overshot turn 1. Probably anticipation. He could probably just see the roof.
Merv's going to get it. Merv's going to get it. He's on the inside. Little mistake there from Moore on the approach to 1, just as Merv was coming out of the pits. Potentially, that's actually probably going to help the 4 car a little bit in behind. You can just see in the back of the shot. Little lock up there from the right front from Moore.
Well, normal service resumed here at Hampton Downs with Greg Murphy just sneaking out in front of Richard Moore, and there's their respective co-drivers.
Jack Perkins, Tim Slade. Jack Perkins reckons he's Australia's worst sign rider. His nickname is Bubbles. So if anything, lads, it's actually probably hurt the Smeg car a little bit more than it has the 1 in the 10. Paul Manuel in the Oryx Commodore. Completion of lap 19.
Oh, and here's Richard Moore having a look.
Lock the rears, just a little pinch on the rears. You can see the car step out.
Listen to the tyre chatter going to 1.
So the Waters Cunningham Ford is race leader. Has not taken the fuel stop. Gibson, McIntyre, Heimgarten and Morris. Varney in weight now up into 4th. First of the cars that has pitted for fuel. Moore, Slade. Murphy, Perkins. Evans, Van Gisbergen.
Simon took half a second out of the front 2 in that lap.
Yeah, 5.3, good consistent pace. Here is the race leader, Cameron Waters.
Just mentioning, it was early in qualifying, Jamie, that Cameron Waters, such a young fella, 20 years old, and the size of him in his upper body, the size of his chest, his back, and just the workouts that he must be doing to try and keep at the forefront of V8 supercars. the development series and be a co-driver in supercars. The young fella's working hard.
And certainly a fit young man. I think some of that late model dirt experience too. You're a tough car to handle on the dirt tracks around Australia. So there's first, second and third. Paul Morris. And you go back to the Hanley Rollins and Ferndale Farms car. They are currently in 11th, a lap down. Just in behind there was Andrew Waite from Simply Leasing Ford. Lap 21 of 60, 22 now onto lap 22. 4 laps before the pit window opens for the compulsory driver change. Between laps 26 and 32. Morris just running a little bit wide in the background. So the top 4 cars at the moment separated by about 5.5 seconds. Back on board with Greg Murphy. Effectively with that fuel cycle, the race leader, the 1 and the 10 definitely made a gain on the 4 car in the background. Look at the lap times. Murphy a 105.5, Moore a 105.5, Evans a 105.5. Oh, Moore, huge climb over the curves. Look at that speed. It's sucked out of the car on the approach down to 4.
Tell you what, it looks spectacular, and so does this shot.
A unique shot over the top of turn 4, on board with Murph. Simon Evans is closing that gap. He's within 1 second of Richard Moore. Steve Owen in the background. They are currently, well, they would actually be the 4th placed car, those that have done the fuel stops, but that may change with this cycle as Andrew Waite is in.
These guys will be stoked to make it to this point of the race.
Good clean stop.
Talking to one of the team members earlier on, and they were very impressed with youngster Andrew Waite. What he's brought to the team to help young Sean Varney.
Yeah, it's a good combination there, and Sean certainly has not disgraced himself in any way, shape or form. He's held his own in that race car. Former Shane Van Gisbergen Ford Falcon. Right, Murph 105.7, Moore 105.8, Evans 105.6. That gap is closing. First to third. It's probably made up a couple of seconds, I reckon, over the last half a dozen laps. Back to the front of the field, Cam Waters. Cam's lap times, he's in the 6.1s. Gibson 6.1. Paul Morris 6.1. You're about 5/10 half a second slower than those cars that have pitted for fuel just in behind them.
It's this car at this point of race 3 in round 1 at Taupo that pulled a trump card. Well, he pulled it on lap number 1, and it paid dividends later on.
And they had a very good race car. They both did a good job. First ever race win in the SuperTourers for Mitch Cunningham and Cam Waters. 24 different winners over the 4 championships.
Here he is. And we're just talking about Mitch Cunningham.
He's got a smile on his dial.
Team manager, apparently.
Team manager as well, truck driver.
And main driver.
Former Toyota Racing Series champion, of course. 106.3 for Waters, 106.1 for Gibson, 106.5 for Morris. Murph, Moore and Evans are in the 105.6s. Back on board with Evans.
Tell you what, there's nothing in it, is it, really? I mean, look at these guys. 5.7 for Murphy, 5.6 for Moore, 5.6 for Evans, and it's just rotating by a 10th. And as Simon gets closer, we won't be able to better those times anyway.
Look at the fastest laps of the race. I mean, a 105.11 for Evans, a 105.14 for Richard Moore. It is that close, and it's the way it should be. Greg Murphy under attack here from Richard Moore. Lap 26. The pit window is about to open for the compulsory driver changes. We saw some gains from these 2 cars in the fuel stop over the chasing Smeg Holden. Simon Evans at the wheel. Murph will hand over to Jack Perkins. Moore hand over to Tim Slade. Simon Evans hand over to Shane Van Gisbergen. 3 not bad drivers to hand your race cars over to.
Yeah, dead right.
Right, here's Waters in for the fuel stop. Cam Waters in out of the race lead. That'll put the Gibson McIntyre Ford to the lead. The pit window about to open, and Mark, it's going to get busy down there over the next 5 or so minutes.
Yeah, certainly is, Jamie. Everybody's geared up, ready to go. Cam Walter's car, that was actually 9.2 seconds for the fuel. But
I was going to say, Mark, that looked good.
Oh, that was a blindingly quick stop. But we have a look down here. Andre Heimgartner is ready to go. Actually, just about all the co-drivers ready to go, to be honest with you guys.
Actually, all South Islanders will be roaring because boys from Christchurch and Timaru are the crew on that car, so well done.
Yeah, Jody and Sprague and the boys, the Timaru connection. Evans now right there with Moore and Murph. 105.4, he was 3/10 quicker than Moore, 2/10 quicker than Murph. Game well and truly back on with the co-driver changes about to happen.
Well, what do we do now? Let's look at some scenarios. As Simon Evans, he's caught back where he was before. Is he going to bring this number 4 car in straight away? Hand over?
Pit window is now open for the driver changes. Who will blink first? They all stay out on track for this lap, lap 27. Start of lap 28.
So look for some action in the pit lane. Mark will give us an update of who pokes their head out the bunker first.
For these 3 cars, the driver changes are going to be incredibly important. And there they are, lying in wait, Perkins and Slade for M3 Racing. All 3 team cars in the top 5 for race number 2. They have a 6-lap window to get those changes done. So
hey,
Mark
boys.
Gibson, your race leader. Yes, Mark?
Sorry, boys. First to show the trump card, the Paul Manuel car is coming in, as is the Murphy car. So we've just been asked to get out of the way in preparation for these 2 guys to come in. They've held off the Moore car, obviously, because you can't have 3 cars all arrive at the same time.
Well, that puts a thorn in Smeg Racing's side, unfortunately, because if Richard Moore is obviously going to stay out, that means Simon's caught with him for another lap.
On board with Mark Gibson, about to hand over to John Mack. First of the co-driver changes, Paul Morris to hand over to Andre Heimgartner.
Morris has stalled the car in gear.
Here's Murph.
So these guys have got traffic to contend with for a change as well. They're holding the McIntyre car. Look at that. So he's lost a bit of time there.
That's a huge amount of time. The last stop for the 1 car was just about perfect, 12.8 seconds.
Oh, the Heimgartner car is still stuck there in the pit lane. That's massive loss. Maybe they can't get it started.
That's a good stop for Murph and Perkins. That looked pretty clean. Jack's getting the belts done up.
Finally, Heimgartner's away.
Well, that's an eternity. That has cost them. Mark, did you see what the issue was with the Morris Heimgartner entry?
Sorry, boys, I didn't, because I was down here timing the Murphy pit stop, which was 13.3 seconds from start to finish, so pretty quick.
They lost 20 seconds to John McIntyre's pit stop. Perkins and Murphy, they were quick.
It's Chris Hanley coming in to hand over to Gene Rollinson, and Sean Barney will take over the control of number 14. Still going.
Yeah, they lost a little bit of time in pit lane as well.
That's not a fast stop either.
On board with Johnny Mack. Battling there with the property tutor, holding up the hill. Angus Fogg at the wheel.
Oh, Foggy's gone too hard. Oh, he's in a bit of a slide.
Trying to get it turned in. He got it done in the end.
Just hearing that Paul Manuel's in the pit, swapping over to Shea Davies. There it is there. Yorick's number 15.
Shea did a very, very good job in that second race. Very good Porsche Career Cup racer in Australia. Yorick's Commodore. Back out. Richard Moore, your race leader. 105.7 last lap. Evans at a 105.8. Steve Owen's got good pace. A 105.3 from Steve Owen.
Here we go. This is where the action is.
First and second. Well, second and third. Murph was leading before the pit stops. Van Gisbergen in. Slade will go into the 10. Can they make some time up? This pit stop is going to be crucial. And they're going to get jumped in pit lane. The 4 will get out first.
It's close.
Very, very close.
He's going to have to blend in these. Yeah, he has. There you go. So a good position made up there. Not much in it. Very good effort.
And they were similar to Greg Murphy. There is Murph. So Van Gisbergen has jumped Richard Moore, and the top 3 are within a couple of seconds. So Moore lost a little bit of time with that driver change to Slade. Van Gisbergen and Evans got the jump, and the 3 cars were probably within, Mark, I reckon, about a second and a half of each other.
Yeah, they were actually. It's 15.2, 15.8 second respectively, but so far the fastest is Murph's and the slowest is Heimgartner. I'll go down in a second because we're just waiting for Angus to come in, jump out and let Tony get into the car.
I reckon the car that's going to make a big gain here is Steve Owen in the Chester's Holden. He's got good lap speed, solidly in the 5s, race leader at the moment. They pitted on lap 2 for their fuel change.
Just hearing the Angus Fogg. It's bringing, probably choose number 3 in, hand over to D'Alberto.
Cam Waters staying out there. Driver change not too far away to hand over to Mitch Cunningham. Here is Steve Owen, race leader, but with the driver change to happen in the next lap. I think they'll make some gains because that car has had good speed, and into pit lane it comes now. I think Waters will follow suit. He was about 5 seconds behind. So the pit window is about to close. Steve Owen with a good stint. They were the first to pit, well actually the second car to pit, behind Ed Pedersen, who copped a drive through for not completing the first lap. Belts on for Tim Edgell. Looks calm, but might have lost a little bit of time, Mark.
Yep, 16.9 seconds. Then Pedersen car back in again, but we hear there might actually be a few dramas for Angus because they're not too sure, the officials, if he got the right about in properly.
Okay. Well, that was about 4 seconds slower than what we saw from Murph and the Evans team. So all that hard work from Steve Owen just cost them a little bit there with that stop.
Well, it has, hasn't it? There's the Heimgartner car. I mean, it looked tidy, but potentially it's too tidy.
So Cam Waters, your race leader. Johnny Reed's just left pit lane. The delay, J.A. Russell Ford. Similar pit stop time. Here is Cam Waters. Mitch Cunningham about to get an out of the race lead. That'll put the Gibson McIntyre Ford into the lead.
Race management. Pit lane entry is now closed.
Pit lane is closed now for the driver changes.
Entry is now closed.
Oh, slow stop there for Mitch. End up sitting on the lap belt.
So the Gibson McIntyre 47 car, I don't believe, Mark might correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe has made their fuel stop. Couldn't get it into gear for Mitch Cunningham, nearly stalled it.
No, you're right, Jamie. Just looking at the fuel tune here outside Johnny Mack's team, still full of fuel.
That's usually a good giveaway. There's a full churn of fuel sitting out in front of the pit, isn't it?
Yeah, it might actually go for a bit of a wander. Heimgartner's one, still full of fuel. So there's 2 cars, still waiting to do this fuel stop.
All right. So that'll put Murphy, Perkins back in the lead from Evans, Van Gisbergen, Moore and Slade. Perkins, Van Gisbergen, Slade in the cars. Last lap's 105.7 for Perkins, 105.7 for Van Gisbergen, 105.69 for Tim Slade. John McIntyre is leading the race. Still with a fuel stop to do, though, for the Blackwood Protector Ford.
Hey, Mark, that's not making any sense why Heimgartner's churn is full of fuel, because he's sitting in He's sitting in 5th position. He's behind Evans, Moore, Evans and Murphy.
They lost a huge amount of time in their pit stop, Drakey.
Yeah, I did. What was interesting, I spoke to the team before and congratulated on their smart strategy for race 2 about coming on the white lap, and they smiled and they said, yeah, well, we got something else which might be a little bit more controversial than that decision. So
yeah, something's going on here. Yeah. Something's going on. They just can't be where they are. I know they had a slow stop, but they can't.
Well, they lost 20 seconds in that pit stop with the driver change. They lost 20 seconds, which would explain part of it, as Van Gisbergen's all over the back bumper of Murph in lap traffic. Battle for the race lead with Tim Slade just in behind.
All right, Mark, we'll leave you to put your scientist cap on and come back to us.
As we got a battle for the lead, Van Gisbergen working on Greg Murphy, lap 35 of 60.
Perkins having to go a little bit defensive.
Comes Perkins in the car. You get all excited when you see the red one. Keep saying Greg Murphy, but it is Jack Perkins. Van Gisbergen.
Oh, it's going to happen, isn't it?
Oh, Perkins, big sideways. Van Gisbergen had to lift to stop running into the back of him. That's opened up the opportunity down the inside into 2. New race leader, Shane Van Gisbergen. And this is going to be a sprint to the finish.
Honestly, it must be a bit of a fear of any driver looking in the mirror and seeing Shane Van Gisbergen there.
A few years ago, he was voted by the other drivers as the hardest, as the guy they did not want in their mirrors, and one of the hardest guys to pass when he was racing with Stone Brothers and he was younger.
He's got a bit better than that now.
Current Bay of Plenty 1/6 remote control Nitro champion. Won that title a few weeks ago. Currently ranked number 3 in Queensland for the same thing. There's a good thing to put on your CV. So McIntyre's still leading the race. He's got good car speed too, 105.8 out in front. The top 3 cars on screen have done fuel and have done their compulsory driver change. Jack Perkins trying to stay here with Van Gisbergen. Slade just in behind them. 105.8 Van Gisbergen, 106.4 for Perkins, 106.3 for Slade. I think Slade might have got a little delay there in lap traffic. There's Simon Evans looking hot and bothered out of the car. It does get very, very hot in these cars, doesn't it, Shane?
As Slady pointed out, they don't have a lot of them aren't running cool suits in this endurance format. It's just too difficult, and you probably shouldn't need it. And they're not worrying about their helmet fans either, so those nice little aids you have when you're on your own are gone.
Yeah, so much heat sink through the floor of these cars. I think a lot of the teams not running the cool suits and the ice boxes from a weight point of view as well. It's that close and that competitive across the BNC-NZ SuperTourers. So Van Gisbergen, let's look at this lap. It looked pretty clean. 5.5 for Van Gisbergen. Murphy at a 5.9. Slade at a 5.5. So Slade's got some pace in behind Greg Murphy. Jack Perkins.
You're a bit excited there, mate.
Oh, my brain's starting to hurt with all of the driver changes and pit strategies and fuel. We're still waiting for the John McIntyre Gibson entry to pit. And we believe also the Heimgartner Morris machine was 23 seconds out of the race lead. McIntyre leads from Van Gisbergen, Perkins, Slade, Heimgartner, Angel, Davies, Mitch Cunningham, Tony D'Alberto, Johnny Reid, Sean Varney, Jing Rollinson in the Ferndale Farms Ford. And this also comes down to tyre management, guys. The end of a big weekend, a lot of laps, limited to 8 new tyres. The teams would have dug into the tyre banks from previous rounds to help get them through the weekend.
Well, we heard Richard Moore say after race number 1 that they got rid of their crappy tyres, so to speak, and maybe he damaged one in qualifying, and so to try and get it out of the way on the short race, so they've got a good bank left for these longer 60 lap races where you've got to have a full fuel load as well.
105.6 from Van Gisbergen, 105.9 from Perkins, 105.3 from Tim Slade. A couple of tenths quicker than the race leader, so Slade is on a bit of a charge here. Looking back over the rear bootlet of the Smeg Holden. little hiccup in race number 2 with the door coming adrift during one of the pit stops. She had a small clutch problem too, which was why Simon could not get the car out of gear.
Nice gesture there on the back of Murphy's bootlet in memory of Peter Robb, who was tragically killed earlier in the week in a helicopter accident.
Yeah, very, very sad. Heavy hearts in the UDC V8 pits this weekend, but a lot of the race cars running tribute stickers across a lot of the classes. The Rocket Man, the original shareholders and founders of the UDC V8 in New Zealand, is sadly missed. Certainly all of our thoughts and wishes go out to Pete's family and friends. Back on board with Murph now, with Perkins. He's trying to hold off Slady. Look at Slade, he has got some pace.
Well, depending on what happens here, these M3 boys might have to have a little meeting in their pit garage, because Slade's going to continue to hound Perkins. They're better off to let him go and give him a chance to try and get SVG up front.
We've got 21 laps to get to the end, and you know, Shane's actually coming back to the 2 M3 cars a little bit as well. Murph was a 10th quicker on the previous lap. Slade was 2 tenths quicker. And Gisbergen, your race leader. Perkins, Slade. That's with the cars that have done both of their stops. Still John McIntyre out in front. Yet to complete a fuel stop though for the Blackwood Protector Ford, so they're trying to get some nice clean laps there in the 105.9s. Shane Van Gisbergen. Last lap. Actually lost 3 tenths to Jack Perkins, so Perkins is starting to come back to him and Slade's going with him. Shane had got away there. This is the race leader. Well, McIntyre had a moment there into the last corner. Big handful of opposite lock to get it set. Blackwood Protector Ford.
Here he goes.
He's going to roll into pit lane for the fuel stop. Big brake pressure to get the car stopped down to pit lane speed. Pit lane limiter on. So this will be the fuel stop. The Blackwood Protector Ford out of the race lead. Last stop for them. Gulf Force 1098 going on board. Got it lit up out of pit lane as well. See where they cycle back out into. There's the top 3. So that's on the run to turn 4. So obviously McIntyre will be in behind that group. But he might sneak up into potentially 5th, depending on where Tim Edgell is on track. And while they lost a little bit of time in the pit stop, I think that car did make some gains in that first run, having pitted early. Gisbergen's last lap, 105.7, 10th quicker than Perkins. Slade was quicker again at a 105.6. These 3 cars within a couple of tenths of each other each lap. Gaps just seesawing a little bit. 0.6 Van Gisbergen to Perkins, 0.4 back to Slade. In its second race, Van Gisbergen chasing down Tim Edgell was able to do 105.1s at the end of that run.
Well, we don't know, but he might just be doing what he needs to do just to remain in front, conserving everything.
Trying to keep the tyre under the car.
Yeah, they had a drama in the last race, and it'll be playing on their mind. You don't need to win by half a lap, but you know, it's still just under a third of a race to go. So just do what you need to do.
So John McIntyre is 6th on track. He's 10 seconds down on Tim Edgell, so he did cycle back in behind them. So that was definitely a gain for Steve Owen and Tim Edgell, because they started out of 9 and the Gibson McIntyre out of position 5. Back to the race leaders. Smeg Racing Commodore, Shane Van Gisbergen. 105.6, 105.9 for Perkins, 105.7 for Slade. That's the first lap in about the last 6 or 7 that Slade's actually been a touch slower. Still no sign of Andre Heimgartner pitting for fuel. They are 4th on track, but still do need to make their final fuel stop. Mark, with the pit lane entry, the stop and out, it's, what do you reckon, about 40 seconds?
Yeah, it's probably a little bit more than that actually, Jamie. It's probably 45 to 50 seconds, but I actually just going through my rule book here and finding out what the penalty is for not actually stopping for fuel. So let me come back to you in a couple of minutes, boys, because I might have a bit of a story for you.
You and I are thinking along the same lines. I'm just sitting here thinking,
Mark, just don't start this grey area thing, would you?
well, yeah, but it's not. They're not really going to gain from it, lads, because I mean they are 4th on track, but they're a fair way behind the top 3, and the next group of cars are sort of within, you know, QE of them. So, really? Van Gisbergen stepped up the pace at 105.4, Perkins 105.5, Slater 105.40. Quickest of the trio. There's nothing between these 3 cars. Slade closes up under brakes. Drake, you talk about the tribute there to Peter Robb. Still got the Jason Richards one on the wing struts on the Mike Perro one as well.
Yeah, it's good the way that these guys all band together and look after their mates when they're down.
I was amazed at how many Jason Richards jackets are still on the mountain at Bathurst a few weeks ago. Van Gisbergen's got a little bit of a gap here. 105.4 last lap. He does look pretty comfortable out in front. Tim Slade, if anything, just maybe getting held up a touch now by Jack Perkins. 105.3 for Van Gisbergen. 105.6, 105.6 for Perkins and Slade. He's just chewed 3/10 out. Look at that gap grow in 1 lap.
Well, I think M3 have got to make a decision now whether or not they want to let Slade have a go.
Certainly from a championship point wise, the better placed car for M3 is the number 10 Mike Perro Holden. Lap 46 of 60 for the BNT NZ SuperTourers from Hampton Downs, the TR Group Waikato 400 weekend. It's been a bit of controversy. We've seen some great racing across all of the classes and some close racing here in the SuperTourers. Now, as I say that, again, looks like Shane has gotten away a little bit more, Drakey.
It looks like he's doing one of his little stints where he decides to put the pedal to the metal and he just does, yeah, just pops another 10 quicker.
Half a second quicker than these 2 cars. Slade was a little bit offline down into 1.
So maybe what we're saying that a few laps ago, he was just conserving, might well be the case. And now there's an issue brewing here, is whether or not these guys are happy to settle for where they are.
Or if they're going to release the Slade car to maybe go and have a go at Shane.
You know, I think Tim's got the better car. He can't do anything with his lap time, you know, apart from drop back and then throw in a lap, but that's not going to get you anywhere. Fastest laps don't win your races.
They are worth extra bonus points in the sprint races, but not in the Enduro format. Qualifying points carry over as part of that. Oh, Perkins looking nervous under brakes, the rear of the car just stepping out there under brakes into the final corner.
This is the closest Slade's been.
Could get a run up the hill here.
Yep. This will be his chance. If he can't do it now, he's going to have to stick with what seems to be team orders.
He's right up and behind, goes to the inside under brakes. Tim Slade, and he's got the rear going around.
Oh,
he just about didn't get that turned in, Shane.
Yep.
And Jack had to turn left, I reckon. That was a big moment for Tim Slade. He was sideways for a long time under brakes.
I'd say there would be a fair bit of wheel work inside that number 10.
And while these two are battling together, Shane Van Gisbergen's just done the 3rd fastest lap of the race at a 105.199. Look at that gap. That is out beyond 3 seconds now.
Right, let's now see what Slade can do.
Well, he's got 13 laps to try and get to Shane Van Gisbergen. How comfortable is Shane in the car? Only think those around the team will know, and Shane in the cockpit himself. We know from race 2, while they didn't get the result, they had good car speed at the end. They were doing 105.1s. Chasing down Tim Edgell. Just settled back with a 105.6 for Van Gisbergen, a 106.0 for Slade, 106.6 for Perkins. Andre Heimgartner still in 4th. He's doing 105.7s. Tim Edgell up into 5th, 106.3 for him. John McIntyre 6th, 105.9s. Good speed for Shay Davies at 1. He's in the 105.7s, currently in the 7th position. So 12 laps left to go. Can Tim Slade chase down Shane Van Gisbergen?
Jack Perkins now in pursuit of Tim Slade as they head into Hankook Sweeper, and here's the pass, and there he gets just at their last point there. Slade Singh locks the rears and sort of fires it towards Perkins. Perkins naturally gets out of the way.
He was left hand down there for a good 30 or 40 metres.
Yeah, good move, great move, and great ability for Perkins to see what was sort of happening.
Van Gisbergen at 105.7.
Oh, there he goes again.
Oh, Slade's fast though at 105.3. He's just chewed 4/10ths out of Van Gisbergen's lead. 105.3 for Tim Slade. He is trying hard. Can he keep the tyres underneath the car to chase down Shane Van Gisbergen? First and second. Both race winners this weekend.
Well, Slade's put a second on Perkins already, so maybe he should have done that earlier on before Shane had a chance to go out there and try and nail a few good laps together.
Certainly did look like he had more car speed than Perkins for a good probably 10 or 15 laps there, and that, you know, could be conclusive at the end of this race, but Slade certainly looks like he's got a good car underneath him right now, chasing down Shane Van Gisbergen. Oh, big moment there for Sean Varney off the McIntyre on board.
Yeah, that was Luke's corner.
Not a battle for position. McIntyre is in 6th, Varney back in 12th.
And number 14 cars lost a lot of time somewhere. It was actually Waity had that thing
Up inside the top 6.
Yeah, I was going to say well inside the top 10 earlier on. They had struggled with brake issues, very big brake issues, so maybe they've just got a smaller problem.
So John McIntyre, another top 6. They were, I think, 7th in the first race of the weekend, 4th in race number 2. So a good solid weekend for the Blackwood Protector Ford. There's some footwork, Johnny Mack.
So obviously your accelerator closest to the picture. John's just resting his foot over on the footwell on the other side. When not needed on the brake, he won't use the clutch much at all. He is using it on the down changes, and you don't normally use it going up. When you use it coming down, it helps with that gear change and allowing the rear wheels to flow freely while they slow down. You might know that when you change down too quickly, you get a bit of a jump on the back of the car. Great fun when you're in a ute. But that just helps the transition of slowing that car up when you're using the gearbox and assistance with the brakes. Absolutely flat while changing up. They have a little ignition switch that kills a spark, and that's why you hear these cars pop and bang.
Huge pedal pressure on the brake application too. So Van Gisbergen just lost 3/10ths to Tim Slade on the last lap, of 105.9 for Van Gisbergen, 105.6 for Slade. Gap down to 2.1 seconds. 9 laps to go. They are on lap 52. About to complete that. Looking at the lap times, Van Gisbergen steps back up with a 5.5. Slade answers back with a 5.4. Gap pretty static at 2.1 seconds. Perkins at a 105.9, loses a half second on that lap, but he's got a big enough gap back to Andre Heimgartner to not have too many dramas going. So there's your top three. Run from turn 3 down to turn 4. Book's corner. Gisbergen, your race leader. Slade second, Perkins third, Heimgartner fourth. We understand, and we know, they should have to do a fuel stop before the end of the race. So Mark's been able to find something else out. Tim Edgell in 5th in the Chesters, Holland, John McIntyre 6th. Shay Davies 7th, Tony D'Alberto 8th for the Property Tutors team. Mitch Cunningham 9th. Johnny Reid up into 10th after a drive-through penalty for Ant Pedersen. Pitting too early for their fuel stop.
Timmy Edge will be reasonably happy with that 5th position at this stage because he's had a shocker race 1 and 2. Drive-through in each of them.
Identical lap times for Van Gisbergen and Slade, 1:05.7. Slade a touch quicker by 0.02 of a second, but again, there's just nothing in it. Slade takes a couple of tenths out of Shane, then Shane next lap returns with a couple of tenths back. So there is Andre Heimgartner, the Hydrolink Holden. We're all still trying to figure out, well, he needs to take a fuel stop, put 25 laps on board. You can do that through the duration of the race after the completion of lap 1 through to the end of the race. He's 4th at the moment and 10 seconds clear of Tim Edgell. Actually got John McIntyre chasing him down. That gap is about 6 seconds. McIntyre currently half a second a lap quicker than Tim Edgell. Just looking at Andre's lap times, 1:05.8. He's pretty comfortable and quicker than both Edgell and McIntyre. Goes around to complete lap 54.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens here, Jamie. I just... oh, look at that.
Big sideways moment there for Andre.
And just sort of snapped halfway through the corner.
Well, he's on similar lap speed to the leaders. He just hit a 1:05.6, Van Gisbergen a 1:05.7, Slade a 1:06.0. So again, Slade was quicker than Van Gisbergen the previous lap, vice versa. Shane gets him back by a couple of tenths on the next lap. So Heimgartner's got good car speed. Obviously, there's not a lot of fuel left in the car.
Well, that's the other thing, is whether or not the car's actually going to make it to the end of potentially. They've calculated that it has. If they're trying to play an ace card somewhere here on the rule book.
So Shane Van Gisbergen, your race leader, by 2.3 seconds. He's just extended that gap back to 2.1 seconds as again Slade takes 2 tenths back out of Van Gisbergen, who took 2 tenths out of Slade on the previous lap. Heimgartner with this lap. 1:06.0, lost a little bit of time with that moment down in turn number 1. I'm just thinking out loud, lads, there's no way they... Morgan, I'm just thinking, there's no way they put fuel in at the start of the race, did they?
No, but I reckon I worked it out, guys, because I've just been speaking to the officials. Start-finish line is up there, okay? We all think the start-finish line's on the track, but it actually goes through the track into pit lane as well, okay? So work with me here. These guys, I reckon, are going to come in on the very, very last lap, take their full 25 litres of fuel, and then actually go past the pit lane where the start-finish line is. So the start-finish line is on the track and also the pit lane. I reckon that's what they're going to do.
And since when has someone ever won a race or finished a race in the pit lane?
Doesn't matter, Sean. It's all about that rule book.
Well, hey, guys, they're 16 seconds out of the race lead for a start, and they do have to come through pit lane.
And just to make a complete liar of me, they're all got their crash helmets on and they're going to come and refuel the car.
I think they've just been playing with you.
No, I think he did a fake that lap.
Well, they're chuckling away in the background in that shot. On board with the race leader, Shane Van Gisbergen. 1:05.9, lost 3 tenths to Slade. The gap's actually come down to 1.8 seconds, guys. Oh, Van Gisbergen with a big moment there at a turn 4. Gap looks actually pretty stable. It looks pretty similar, but certainly Tim took 3 tenths out of him on the previous lap. But yeah, Shane, that was a big handful of opposite lock.
Yeah, that's meaning that we've got a couple of little issues going on.
4 laps left to go. Canton, Slade.
Could have also just been a momentary lapse of concentration. Yeah.
Can Tim Slade get to Shane Van Gisbergen? Well, getting to him's one thing. Getting past him at the business end of a 60-lap race is an entirely different situation. 105.4 from Van Gisbergen, even with that little issue out of turn 4. And he's just taken the 2/10 back out of Slade. 105.6 gap back out to 2 seconds.
Let's have a look here and see what this thing's like through transitioning corners. Bit of oversteer there. Correction. This is where he had a little moment last lap. Looked a lot better this time.
Drop Jack Perkins off. Perkins is 5.2 seconds back. 3 seconds back from Tim Slade. Lap 58 of 60. And Gisbergen seemingly under control. It's a couple of tenths quicker than Tim Slade on the previous lap. It's currently tied with Scott McLaughlin. No, he's not. He's yes, he is tied with Scott McLaughlin with 7 wins. V8 SuperTourers. 105.3 from Van Gisbergen. I think we might have just answered our own question, Drakey.
Oh, look at that! Now he's putting on a show.
5.7 for Slade. Gap back out to 2.5 seconds. Van Gisbergen, lap 59, 2 to go.
He's having fun. He's having fun. Owen Evans will be pulling his hair out in the Smeg garage, watching this thing slide around a few corners.
Well, he looks under control now. Still waiting to see what Andre Heimgartner is going to try and do. He had about a 12-second deficit advantage over Tim Angel. Battle for 4th and 5th if they make that fuel stop and go across the line in the pit lane. We've had some controversy this weekend. Shane Van Gisbergen. He's looking for win number 8. Put Simon Evans on 4 wins in the space of 2 weekends. 105.3 from Van Gisbergen. Tim Slater 105.6.
The gap certainly etched out now to 2.7 within a couple of laps. Yeah. From 1.8. So
Perkins has lost 2 seconds in the last 2 laps, back there in 3rd. Van Gisbergen, I think he's just answered the question we probably asked about 10 laps ago. Was he comfortable with the car underneath him to try and hold off Tim Slade? He's answering that in spades right now. Slade, though, has tried so hard. Still going to be a fantastic weekend for the Slade-Moore combination. May have done enough to take out the round, I'm thinking. It'll be close in the final wash for the round. This should consolidate the championship lead for Shane Van Gisbergen and Simon Evans. Last lap board about to come out for the Giz. This last lap might be a little bit of fun, Drakey.
Yep, knowing SVG.
5.5 for SVG, 5.6 for Slade. Gap out to 2.8 seconds. Is getting the job done for Smeg Racing.
I think Heimgartner has just passed the start-finish line, so fair to say that he will probably come in on the last lap and take that fuel.
That confirmation from Mark Pedersen down there on pit lane as Van Gisbergen negotiates the B&T hairpin for the final time.
I just confirmed that for you. That's exactly what they're going to do. So, yeah, we called that right, fellas.
It's going to be fun if there's a bit of traffic on pit lane with teams going out to the pit wall to celebrate. Last corner for Shane Van Gisbergen and Simon Evans. Bouncing back after their 8th place finish in race number 2. Tim Slade. He's had a solid weekend, the Australian, out of Walkinshaw Racing. But it's win number 8 for Shane Van Gisbergen. Tim Slade in 2nd. Shane cruised to the line. The last lap was a 107. In 3rd place, Jack Perkins paired with Greg Murphy.
Car number 4, car 1.
It's going to be pretty close for the round points. And here's Heimgartner coming into pit lane.
The other remaining
What will they
cars are to
achieve
come into the pit
position-wise? They
lane
come in
park
fourth.
zone.
They had 10-second advantage over Tim Edgell.
So this, in my memory, will be the first time you've actually taken the checkered flag in the pit lane.
Well, that'll be an interesting one. This will have them looking at the rule books. It's going to drop him to 7th. 7th according to the lap scoring. An interesting ploy. Celebrations for Shane Van Gisbergen and Simon Evans. Their 4th win together as a combination. And that'll give Tim Edgell and Steve Owen
The race management
4th
car
place.
number 10 and
That's a
car
good return
number
for them,
1.
Shane, after a pretty tough couple of weekends in the Chester's Holden.
It's a good result.
All remaining
Tough couple of
cars
races
go into
earlier on today, Jamie, for them.
So here are the results. After the final race here at Hampton Downs, Simon Evans, Shane Van Gisbergen with the victory. Moore and Slade in second, ahead of Murphy and Perkins, Edgell and Owen, Gibson, McIntyre, Manuel Davies, Heingartner and Morris to 7th with that finish in pit lane. Fogd, Alberto, Pedersen, Reid, Cunningham and Waters complete the top 10.